Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me one quick favor, see that little black subscribe button on the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Really does help this channel grow, my audience grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. Also, quick thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet $50 on any game. Get up to $1,111 in free bets courtesy of the Betfred Sportsbook. Thank you again. Now, here's the video that you came here for. So I want to go a little bit lighter right now. And I want to talk cheeseburgers. Not technically cheeseburgers, but cheeseburgers and Jim Harbaugh, cheeseburgers and potentially NCAA rules violations at Michigan. That's right. Remember that old Jimmy Buffett song, Cheeseburgers in Paradise? Well, this is kind of the exact opposite of that. Whatever the opposite of Cheeseburgers in Paradise, that is what is going on in Ann Arbor right now as Jim Harbaugh, head football coach in Michigan. You may know him as the guy that's beaten Ohio State in back-to-back years, that's won the Big Ten in back-to-back years, that has made the college football playoff in back-to-back years, that is going to start with a number 2, number 3 ranked team in the country coming into this year. He may be suspended for a quarter of the season, maybe more, essentially over cheeseburgers. So let's get into it. Let's break it down. It's a wild story, really. And it's kind of crazy because I don't really remember talking about this as it all unfolded in the winter and the spring. This is a story that's kind of been out there since probably, I don't know, January, maybe even a little bit before, a little bit after, whatever. But I think it all kind of happened kind of during college hoop season, and we're kind of wrapped up in March Madness, conference championships, whatever. And so we didn't discuss it. But essentially, Jim Harbaugh and Michigan football over the last couple months are part of an NCAA investigation that really stems from Jim Harbaugh providing minor illegal benefits to recruits. What were those illegal benefits? Yes, he paid for lunch for these recruits at a restaurant. He bought them cheeseburgers. And so in the grand scheme of things, that's not a big deal. Even in the pre-NIL era, that wasn't a big deal. The problem is that when the NCAA came to Michigan to talk to Jim Harbaugh about it, according to all reports, all indications, and some people that I talked to on Tuesday, he may have lied about it. And so once Jim Harbaugh lied about it, and once he got caught lying about it, the NCAA decided to dig deeper into the program. What they found was more minor violations, nothing major, nothing crazy, nothing that warrants Jim Harbaugh being in big trouble. Again, especially 3-4 years removed in the NIL era. But minor stuff, kind of the Jeremy Pruitt special, brought a few kids on campus during COVID, not allowed to do that. Had some workouts that were on Zoom that he was watching that he's not supposed to be. What else? A couple other minor things. He had an analyst coaching during practice. Minor things, but it all stems from the fact that he got caught lying. And so Michigan, in conjunction with the NCAA, over the last couple days, has decided that Jim Harbaugh will be suspended to start the year. Right now, it looks as though Jim Harbaugh is going to be suspended for 4 games. It may be more. Nothing is finalized. On top of that, his former defensive coordinator, Mike Macdonald, now in the NFL, gets a 1-year show cause. Sharon Moore, the offensive coordinator, is going to get a suspension for a game or 2. And ultimately, it all comes down to, yes, a very minor recruiting violation. Yes, I'm talking about cheeseburger. And so that is what happened on Tuesday. Nothing is official yet. Now, this is just a report. It's speculation that it's going to be 4 games. And when I look at it, let me start by saying this. I've said this a million times on the Aaron Torres pod over the last 3-4 years that I've been doing this show. And what I say very often is this. Oftentimes, there are 2 sides to every story. That goes without saying. But oftentimes, 2 things can be true at the same time. And I think that's the case here with this Michigan Jim Harbaugh cheeseburger story. I think it's idiotic. I think it's dumb that he is going to miss a quarter of the year. But at the same time, let's also call a spade a spade. He's not getting punished for giving out free cheeseburgers. He's getting punished for lying about it. And so let's break it down because on the one hand, listen, I will readily admit, this is just freaking stupid, right? Like, it is just stupid. We're talking about a head coach at a school giving a couple guys a couple cheeseburgers, probably a bill that cost $20-$30, if that, on a college campus. It was probably some, greasy spoon type place. Really not that big of a deal. It's especially not that big of a deal in the NIL world. We now have schools literally out of the school coffers, and I know it's through a collective, but there's schools that you can feed into the collective through whatever. You have schools giving players tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we're going to bust Jim Harbaugh over a cheeseburger or two. Give me a freaking break. And it looks stupid. And it looks especially stupid in light of all of these other rulings that have come down over the last couple months. Bill Self, 5 level 1 violations in basketball, gets a 4-game suspension. Jim Harbaugh, 1 level 1 violation. That level 1 violation was the lying, not even the act itself. He's going to get 4 games as well. Well, I'm here to tell you there's a difference between a 4-game suspension in basketball that plays 31 games prior to the conference tournaments and a 4-game suspension in football where you have 12 regular season games. So it's dumb and it's idiotic. What I will also say is this. You know what else is dumb and idiotic? Jim Harbaugh feeling the need to lie to NCAA investigators. And I'm not here to defend the NCAA and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But listen, you don't need to go far to realize how stupid it is to lie to the NCAA. Look at the school that Michigan plays every year that is their biggest rival. Who is their head coach right now? Ryan Day. Who was the head coach that he took the job from? Urban Meyer. How did Urban Meyer get that job? Because Jim Tressel lied to the NCAA over Tattoo-Gate. Remember, it was stupid. It was idiotic. A couple guys on Ohio State traded some gear, traded some game-worn jerseys, traded their little, their medallion things. I forget what they were called, the little gold pants or whatever, for free tattoos. It was stupid then. It's even stupider now. But Jim Tressel got busted because he claimed he didn't know. And then when he claimed he didn't know, he said, well, I was doing it to protect the players. By the way, how about that? Jim Tressel, Ohio State leads to Urban Meyer getting there. Urban Meyer was the thorn in Jim Harbaugh's side. I joked with a buddy of mine who's a Michigan fan today. I said, maybe this all leads to Urban Meyer being the head coach at Michigan when this is all said and done. I'm obviously joking. But again, you don't have to look far into this rivalry for the fact that Ohio State lost a head coach for lying to the NCAA. So on the one hand, it's idiotic that Jim Harbaugh got a 4-game suspension. On another, imagine if he got nothing, how mad Ohio State fans would be. Ohio State lost a coach over lying to the NCAA. Now, I'll also admit it probably worked out well for Ohio State because they ended up with Urban Meyer, but it doesn't change the fact. And so I'm a Harbaugh guy. I'm a Harbaugh defender. But if Ohio State lost a coach over this, Jim Harbaugh getting 4 games isn't that bad. By the way, Bruce Pearl. We all remember what happened with Bruce Pearl, right? Had a barbecue at his house. Aaron Kraft was there. Bruce Pearl tells the Kraft family, tells everybody there, lie, say you weren't there. He gets a 3-year show cause. I'm not saying it was right then. I'm not saying it's right now. What I am saying is there is a track record. If you lie to the NCAA, you're going to get in trouble. Now, again, in the grand scheme of things, in the new world that we're in, do I wish there was some kind of more middle ground one than the other? Of course. I think 1 game is more than fair. Heck, I think a fine, recruiting restrictions. He can't go on the road to recruit for a week or 2 in December. That to me feels like more than enough of a punishment for what he did. But I also do understand, like if you go super light on him, imagine the reaction from Ohio State fans, from Tennessee fans, etc. So again, part of this is on Harbaugh, even though I think the punishment was a little bit light. Couple closing thoughts. One, does work out kind of well for Michigan. And there is a reason, by the way, that Michigan is pushing for a 4-game suspension. Have you seen the front end of their schedule? It's soft. It's Charmin soft. It's really bad. They play to open the season. This is Michigan's first 4 games. I want to make sure I have this right. Now, keep in mind, they had a game scheduled with UCLA to open the season. That were early in the season. They had a home and home that was ultimately canceled a few years ago. And so Michigan's first 4 games, because the UCLA game was canceled, East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers. That is why Michigan is pushing for the 4-game suspension. And it will be interesting to see if the NCAA gives them the 4-game suspension, knowing that their first 4 games are at home and they're against East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers. By the way, their next 2 would be at Nebraska, at Minnesota. Games Michigan should win. But obviously, I think Michigan would prefer to have Jim Harbaugh back if they go on the road. From there, I'll say this for Michigan too. I do think this program is uniquely qualified to handle kind of outside noise, okay? Because think about this time last year and what my stupid butt was saying about Jim Harbaugh. Remember, it was 2 off seasons ago that Jim Harbaugh first started flirting with the NFL. I don't know if it ever got to the interview stage, but he was rumored to be interested with the Bears. He was rumored to be interested with the Raiders, Minnesota Vikings. Remember, he went to interview with the Minnesota Vikings on National Signing Day. And I remember saying on this show, that is going to cause chaos. How can those players trust him? What are they going to do? Yeah, I know what they did. They went 12-0 and beat Ohio State and won the Big Ten again. 13-0 heading into the playoff before they lost to TCU. So this program for 2 straight off seasons has dealt with noise outside of their control, and they've kept on moving. I don't know how much this impacts them. Finally, though, I will say this. I just mentioned Harbaugh's been flirting with the NFL back-to-back off seasons now, okay? Back-to-back off seasons for Jim Harbaugh flirting with the NFL. And I'm just going to sit here and say, is this the thing that pushes him out the door? Because it's clear he wants to get back to the NFL before he retires. It's clear I can't speak for Jim Harbaugh. I do feel like he thinks that he has done what he has done at Michigan what he came back to do. Establish them as right now the best program in the Big Ten. Beat Ohio State, make the college football playoff. Now there's that one last step to win the national championship. That's why they have the beat Georgia session of every practice, as we discussed a few weeks ago. But I just bring it up because it feels to me like Harbaugh, this to me, and I talked to somebody very close to the Michigan program, flirted with the NFL 2 off seasons ago, flirted with the NFL this past year. This feels like kind of the last hurrah. He's got everybody back. J.J. McCarthy's a junior, Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum's back, 2 elite running backs, defense is loaded, offensive line is good again. Could this ultimately be the thing that pushes Jim Harbaugh to the NFL? There was already thought that this might be his last year anyway, that he was gearing up for a title run this year, and if it happens or if it doesn't, he's going to try to go back to the NFL. Well, now you get suspended 4 games over a cheeseburger. I think it might be the thing that ultimately pushes Jim Harbaugh back to the NFL. And it's frustrating and it's disappointing, but it is what it is. And as I said, part of this is on Jim Harbaugh.